The NFL world is on fire right now. After Kevin Stefanski's disrespectful decision against the Lions, multiple teams are now begging the Browns to trade Shedeur Sanders. Cleveland fans are furious. Rival GMs are circling. And this quarterback controversy just went nuclear.
Been keeping up with Shadur in Cleveland. What's the best piece of advice you've given him as a dad and as a coach?
Be patient and be ready. You got to be ready when it's time. And it's coming up.
There we go.
You know, I got a prediction. I ain't telling nobody. I got a feeling when it's going to go down. But it's going to go down this year.
It's going to happen. All right.
Yeah, he can get a shot.
That was Daddy Deion last week, revealing great expectations for his baby boy. My boy will be starting soon. I just know it. Obviously, I would never fault a father for believing in his own son. And look, it's entirely possible that Deion Sanders knows something that I don't.
NFL teams are literally lining up, begging the Browns to trade Shedeur Sanders after what Kevin Stefanski just pulled during that Lions game. And let me tell you, this might be the most disrespectful thing I've seen a coach do to a fifth-round pick who was supposed to be a first-rounder. The cameras caught Shedur's reaction on the sideline when Stefanski made his decision, and it's the kind of moment that has Deion Sanders probably making phone calls right now, trying to get his son out of Cleveland. According to Sporting News insiders, multiple teams are circling like sharks, and here's the crazy part. The Browns might actually be shopping him before the trade deadline. Rex Ryan just went on live TV and said something about Shadur that nobody else in the media has the guts to say. And when you hear it, you're going to understand why this situation is about to explode into the biggest controversy of the season.
NFL team, because it is looking highly unlikely that he will ever start for the Cleveland Browns. Remember back in high school when they gave you the summer reading assignments? They would assign a book for you to read over the summer and you had to write some doofus book report about the book. Going into my freshman year of high school, the book they assigned to us was Great Expectations. Well, Uncle Casey, what was it about? Hell if I know, I never read it. Back then, they had these things called Cliff Notes.
So let's rewind for a second, because this story starts with expectations. And not just any expectations, great expectations. Last week, Daddy Deion went on record saying he's got a prediction about when Shadur is going to start. And he said it with the kind of confidence that only a father can have. Be patient and be ready. You got to be ready when it's time.
Why the hell isn't he putting Shedeur Sanders? We're all waiting to see this Shedeur Sanders be the guy or Gabriel, whatever. Something's missing. Something's missing with this kid. This kid talks. He runs his mouth like I could be a starting quarterback with his arms crossed like this. Get your ass in the front row and study and do all that. If I know, the whole league knows. Quit being an embarrassment that way. You got the talent to be the quarterback. You should be embarrassed that you're not the quarterback now.
The question is, what is missing here? According to Rex Ryan, Shedeur Sanders has the physical talent to be the starter, so why isn't he starting? Maybe, just maybe, Kevin Stefanski isn't comfortable with Shedeur Sanders. Maybe he doesn't trust him. Or maybe Kevin Stefanski doesn't want Shedeur Sanders in Cleveland, period.
And it's coming up. That's what Coach Prime told everyone. He's sitting there talking about how his boy is going to get his shot this year. And you can hear it in his voice. He believes it's happening soon. Now look, I'm never going to fault a father for believing in his son. That's what dads are supposed to do. And honestly,
lines when you're not playing. You can't be a fifth-round pick and be telling the media that you're better than a lot of starting quarterbacks in the league. You can't be a fifth-round pick and tell the media that you would be starting if you were playing somewhere else. You can't be a fifth-round pick and be a problem. Because problems, distractions, that's one thing NFL coaches are looking to eliminate.
It's entirely possible that Deion Sanders knows something we don't. Maybe he's got inside information. Maybe he's talking about Shadur starting for another NFL team. Because here's what's becoming crystal clear. It's looking highly unlikely that Shadur will ever start for the Cleveland Browns. And that's where this whole situation gets messy. Because expectations are a dangerous thing. When you walk into the NFL draft expecting to be a first-round pick, expecting to go top 5, maybe top 10, and then you slide all the way to the 5th round? That's brutal. But Shadur kept those expectations. He still believed he was going to be the starter this season. You don't have to take my word for it. We just heard Daddy Deion setting those exact expectations, and Shadur has basically said the same thing to the media. The problem with expectations, though, you actually have to meet them. And when you don't, that's when disappointment breeds. That's when frustration sets in. And that's exactly what we saw from Shedeur Sanders during that Lions game when Kevin Stefanski made a decision that has everyone talking. So yesterday afternoon, the Cleveland Browns continued their decades-long tradition of getting absolutely demolished. The Lions were up by what felt like a few hundred points late in the fourth quarter. Kevin Stefanski decided he'd seen enough of Joe Flacco, so he makes the call to put a rookie quarterback in the game. Finally, right? Finally, Shadur gets his chance to show what he can do in garbage time. Except, that's not what happened. The rookie quarterback that Stefanski selected wasn't Shedeur Sanders. It was Dillon Gabriel. And since this is the NFL and not some minor league situation, there were cameras everywhere capturing every single reaction. And boy, did they capture Shedur's reaction. The look on his face said everything you needed to know. Now, some people in the media are trying to spin this. They're saying Shadur looks disappointed because the Browns were down 34-10. He's just upset about the score. He's disappointed his team is losing. They're trying to make it seem like he's just a competitor who hates losing. Come on, man. Let's be real here for a second. Shedeur Sanders has been in Cleveland long enough at this point to know that losing is the expectation for this franchise. The Browns have been a disaster for decades. He's not shocked that they're getting blown out by the Lions. He's not upset about the score. He's disappointed that Kevin Stefanski put Dillon Gabriel in the game instead of him. Period. And this is where it gets interesting, because this decision has caused an absolute firestorm. Shedur's so-called friends in the mainstream media are losing their minds. This is outrageous! The Browns are holding him back. Why won't they give this young man the chance he deserves? They're acting like the Browns are committing some kind of crime by not playing him. But here's where things take a turn. Rex Ryan, who's honestly become one of the most reliable voices at ESPN, because you can always count on him to be brutally honest, he had the same question. Why isn't Kevin Stefanski giving Shedeur Sanders a chance? But instead of blaming Stefanski, instead of blaming the Browns organization, Rex Ryan placed the blame exactly where it belongs. He blamed Shedeur Sanders himself. Listen to what Rex said. Why the hell isn't he putting Shedeur Sanders in? We're all waiting to see this kid be the guy. Something's missing. Something's missing with this kid. This kid talks. He runs his mouth like he could be a starting quarterback with his arms crossed like this. Get your ass in the front row and study and do all that. If I know, the whole league knows. Quit being an embarrassment that way. You got the talent to be the quarterback. You should be embarrassed that you're not the quarterback. Now that's the kind of truth bomb that makes you sit back and think. According to Rex Ryan, Shadur has all the physical talent. He's got the arm, he's got the intelligence, he's got everything you need to be a starting quarterback in this league. So why isn't he starting? What's missing? And here's where we need to talk about what's really going on in Cleveland, because this goes deeper than just one game or one decision. When the Browns drafted Shadur in the 5th round, there were rumors at the time that the coaching staff wasn't exactly thrilled with the pick. Word was getting out that Kevin Stefanski and his staff didn't want Shedeur Sanders in Cleveland at all. Think about that for a second. Your head coach doesn't want you there from day one. Going into the first preseason game, Stefanski ranked Shadur as the worst quarterback in training camp. He was QB4, not QB3, not QB2, QB4. He was ranked behind Dillon Gabriel and Kenny Pickett, and both of those guys were injured at the time. That's how little confidence Stefanski had in him from the beginning. And now, here's where this story takes another wild turn. There are rumors floating around that the Browns could be making trades before the trade deadline. They're looking to keep Joe Flacco as the starter for now, hoping they can boost his trade value, which honestly shouldn't be that hard since Flacco has minimal value at this stage of his career anyway. If the Browns do trade Flacco, the plan is to make Dillon Gabriel the starter. You might be thinking, okay, well, that's actually good news for Shadur, right? That means he'd be the official backup. He'd no longer be the backup to the backup to the backup. Hold up. Don't celebrate yet, because according to Sporting News, which has been speaking directly with NFL insiders, the Browns could also be looking to trade Shedeur Sanders himself. Yeah, you heard that right. They might be shopping him before the deadline. Now, why would they do that? You've already invested a fifth-round pick in the kid. You're not going to get much in return for him at this point, if anything at all. So why would you be looking to trade him in his rookie year? That doesn't make any sense from a value perspective, unless it's not about value. Unless it's about something else entirely. I think it's the same reason most NFL teams didn't want to draft Shedeur Sanders in the first place. They don't want to deal with the distraction. They don't want to deal with the drama that comes with the Sanders name. And here's the thing. You can't be a fifth-round pick and be a pain in the ass. You just can't. You can't be a fifth-round pick and be visibly frustrated on the sidelines when you're not playing. You can't be a fifth-round pick telling the media that you're better than a lot of starting quarterbacks in the league. You can't be a fifth-round pick telling the media that you'd be starting if you were playing somewhere else. You can't be a fifth-round pick and be a problem. Because problems and distractions are the number one thing NFL coaches are trying to eliminate from their locker rooms. But here's where I'm going to push back a little bit, because I think there's another side to this story that needs to be told. From what Rex Ryan is saying, it sounds like Shadur is being viewed as a problem in Cleveland. But honestly, I think the Browns should give him a real chance. And I know that might sound crazy, but hear me out. The Browns literally have nothing to lose at this point. They've got one of the best defenses in the entire league and an offense that can't get a first down to save their lives. Joe Flacco is in his 40s. Dillon Gabriel is unproven. The season is already spiraling. What exactly do you have to lose by giving Shedeur Sanders actual meaningful reps? Like Rex Ryan said, the talent is there, the physical tools are there. So what's really missing? Is it his attitude? Is it his work ethic? Is it the fact that he's carrying himself like he's already a starter when he hasn't earned it yet? Or is it possible, just possible, that Kevin Stefanski made up his mind about Shadur before he even got to Cleveland, and now nothing the kid does is going to change that opinion? Because here's what doesn't add up. Spencer Rattler was a fifth-round pick. When Derek Carr got injured for the Saints last year, Rattler was starting over Jake Haener, who was the veteran backup. So fifth-round picks can get opportunities in their rookie year. It happens. So why is Shadur being completely frozen out in Cleveland? Why are there serious rumors that the Browns want to trade him less than halfway through his first season? Something doesn't add up here. And honestly, I think Shadur deserves better than this. Yeah, maybe his attitude needs adjustment. Maybe he needs to show more humility as a fifth-rounder. But the kid can play football. We all watched him ball out at Colorado. We all saw what he could do when given the opportunity. The real question we need to ask is this. Is Shadur actually the problem? Or is this a coaching staff that never wanted him there in the first place and is now looking for any excuse to move on? Because let's talk about what Deion said again for a second. Be patient and be ready. That's the advice he gave his son. And you know what? That's actually solid advice for any rookie quarterback. The problem is, how patient are you supposed to be when your coach won't even give you garbage time reps? How patient are you supposed to be when you're QB4 behind two injured guys? How patient are you supposed to be when the team is actively shopping you on the trade market? At some point, patience stops being a virtue and starts being a prison. And this is why I think NFL teams are starting to circle. Not because Shadur is a problem, but because they see an opportunity. They see a talented quarterback who fell to the 5th round because of off-field concerns and family drama. And they see that he's stuck in a situation in Cleveland where he's never gonna get a fair shot. Some smart GM out there is thinking, if we can get this kid for basically nothing and put him in the right system with the right coaching staff, we might have just stolen a franchise quarterback. That's the bet some team is gonna make. And honestly, I think it's the right bet. Because here's what people forget about Shedeur Sanders. The kid has been preparing to be an NFL quarterback his entire life. He's been coached by one of the greatest athletes of all time. He's been playing in big games, handling pressure, dealing with media scrutiny since he was a teenager. Yeah, he's got confidence. Yeah, he carries himself a certain way. But is that really a bad thing for a quarterback? Think about the great quarterbacks in this league. Tom Brady had an arrogance about him. Patrick Mahomes believes he can make any throw. Josh Allen plays with a swagger that borders on reckless. Confidence isn't a bug for quarterbacks. It's a feature. You need to believe you're the best player on the field, or you'll never survive in this league. The problem is when that confidence isn't backed up by performance yet, and you haven't earned your stripes. That's where Shadur is right now. He's got all the confidence in the world, but he hasn't proven it on an NFL field yet because nobody will give him the chance. And that brings us back to Kevin Stefanski's decision during that Lions game. When you're down 34-10 in the 4th quarter, that's literally the perfect time to give your developmental quarterback some reps. There's no pressure. The game is already over. It's the exact scenario where you can see what you have in a young player without risking anything. But Stefanski chose Dillon Gabriel instead. And that decision spoke volumes. It told Shadur exactly where he stands. It told the entire league that the Browns don't view him as part of their future plans. It was disrespectful not because Shadur deserved to play in that moment based on merit, but because it was a clear message that said, "We don't even want to see what you can do in garbage time." That's the kind of decision that gets a player traded. That's the kind of decision that makes other teams start making phone calls. Now here's where the plot thickens even more. If the Browns do trade Shadur, where does he end up? What team is going to take a chance on him? And more importantly, what team would actually be a good fit? You've got teams like the Raiders, who are in quarterback purgatory. You've got the Giants, who just drafted a quarterback but might already be having regrets. You've got teams like the Titans who need a long-term answer at the position. Any of those teams could look at Shadur as a low-risk, high-reward gamble. But here's the team I think would be absolutely perfect for him. The Pittsburgh Steelers. Think about it. They've got a legendary organization with a culture of winning. They've got a defense that can support a young quarterback. They've got Mike Tomlin, who knows how to handle personalities and get the most out of his players. And they're in desperate need of a long-term solution at quarterback. Can you imagine Shedeur Sanders in a Steelers uniform, playing in prime time at Heinz Field, with that defense backing him up? That would be appointment television. That would be must-watch football every single week. And here's the kicker. I think Shadur would thrive in that environment. I think having a coach like Mike Tomlin, who would hold him accountable but also give him a real chance to compete, would bring out the best in him. I think playing for an organization with that kind of history and tradition would force Shadur to raise his game and prove all the doubters wrong. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is really about. Shedeur Sanders has something to prove. He's got a chip on his shoulder from falling to the 5th round. He's got doubters everywhere questioning whether he can actually play at this level. He's got people saying his dad's name is the only reason anyone even knows who he is. That's the kind of motivation that either breaks a player or makes them great. And my gut tells me Shadur is the type of competitor who's going to use all of this as fuel. But he can't do that in Cleveland. Not with this coaching staff. Not with this situation. The writing is on the wall at this point. Kevin Stefanski doesn't want him there. The organization is ready to move on before they even gave him a real chance. And honestly, that might be the best thing that could happen to Shadur's career. Sometimes you need a fresh start. Sometimes you need to get out of a toxic situation and land somewhere that actually believes in you. And if Shadur does get traded, I think it's going to be the wake-up call he needs and the opportunity he deserves. Now, Rex Ryan's comments about Shadur needing to get in the front row and study, needing to carry himself differently. That's not wrong. There's truth in that. Shadur does need to show more humility as a fifth-rounder. He does need to earn his stripes. But here's the thing. He can't earn anything if he's not even getting a chance to compete. You can't tell a guy to prove himself and then never put him on the field. You can't tell a guy to earn his spot and then rank him fourth on the depth chart behind injured players. At some point, that's just setting someone up to fail. And maybe that's been the plan all along. Maybe the Browns never intended to give Shadur a real shot. Maybe they drafted him as a PR move, knowing he'd bring attention and headlines, but never actually planning to develop him as their quarterback of the future. If that's the case, then trading him is actually the right move for everyone involved. The Browns can move on to their preferred guys. Shadur can go somewhere he's actually wanted. And another team can get a potential franchise quarterback for pennies on the dollar. So here's my final take on this whole situation. Yes, Shadur needs to mature. Yes, he needs to handle this with more grace and professionalism. Yes, he needs to prove he can be a leader in the locker room and not just a guy with a famous last name. But the Browns also need to be honest with themselves. If you don't want him, if you don't believe in him, if you're never going to give him a real chance, then do the right thing and trade him to a team that will. Don't string him along. Don't waste his rookie year sitting on the bench behind guys you don't even plan on keeping long-term. Don't make him the scapegoat for your own organizational dysfunction. Because at the end of the day, Shedeur Sanders can play football. The talent is there. The confidence is there. The pedigree is there. He just needs the right opportunity with the right organization. And I genuinely believe that when he gets that opportunity, he's going to shock a lot of people. He's going to prove that he belonged in the first round all along. He's going to show that the doubters were wrong and his dad was right to believe in him. But it's not going to happen in Cleveland. That ship has sailed. So here's what I want you to tell me in the comments. Where should Shedeur Sanders get traded? What team would be the perfect fit for him? Do you think the Browns are making a mistake by giving up on him this early? Or is Rex Ryan right that something's missing with Shedeur's approach? And the bigger question? Is this a case of a young quarterback who needs to mature? Or is this a coaching staff that never gave him a fair chance from day one? Drop your thoughts below. This is going to be one of the biggest storylines as we head toward the trade deadline, and I want to hear what you think is going to happen. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to stay up to date on all the Shedeur Sanders drama as it unfolds, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. This story is far from over. And trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. I'll see you in the next one.